Are you filled with fear, doubt, worry about the future of our country? Do you feel the urgency to act before it's too late? If yes, then this podcast is for you. It's time for us to confront the critical issues threatening our nation's fabric, our democracy itself, regardless of our political stance. If you are ready to face reality, handle the tough questions, and find real solutions, then here's your host, Debilyn.
Welcome to the Terrified Nation podcast. I'm your host, Debilyn. Can we save it? That's the question that we're exploring in this podcast series. And for me, of course we can. The United States is important. America leads the world. We must save our nation. Now, this show is where we explore alternatives to being afraid. And in the very first 5 episodes, which feel like a long time ago to me now, I offered this background framework that I really recommend that you listen to. It provides a really strong foundation for now what do we do? Since then, we've interviewed guests who've gone from being afraid and angry or hopeless to become advocates for our nation, to really live into the promise of our founders. Each person that we're talking to is providing or doing something in their role to get us to a better future. And I do like to start each show with a question that we're going to explore together. And so today's question is, how does the modern workforce connect to and strengthen democracy itself? And to talk through that with us today is a good friend of mine, Betsy Johnson. And we're doing this so last minute while I'm visiting her in Malibu that I didn't even have time to get a bio. So Betsy, would you mind introducing yourself?
Sure. And happy to be here. I'm super excited. I used to have my own podcast. I miss it very much. So I'm gonna love this conversation with you, Debilyn. So my name is Betsy Johnson. What have I not done? I think at this point, I've had many careers. I started out as a management consultant many years ago, and that's really opened up the doors to work with business owners in multiple industries. Today, I find myself more in the HR realm, talent acquisition, just launched a new recruitment company called Legacy Recruitment. Super excited about that. Finding people their next best opportunity is one of my passions. So I really enjoy that. But I really am kind of an A to Z consultant as well, and do a lot of executive coaching, working strategically with owners and executive directors of nonprofits, do a lot of nonprofit work. Yes, I'm super excited to be here.
And I'm so grateful that you were willing to do this in the midst of our girls' weekend, because just a little background for listeners of Terrified Nation. We got to know each other back when we were both involved in politics, and we were independents, and I ran for office and you thought about running for office. And then we just developed this bond of being able to talk more deeply with each other about political things and just life things both than we can with a lot of other people. And so I just want to acknowledge that and let the Terrified Nation know that you're dropping into a conversation with girlfriends.
Perfect.
Okay. And so as I was sharing with you about the body of work that Terrified Nation is part of in talking about American future and this research project, I just want to remind you and remind our listeners here that what we're doing, the interview that we're engaging in initially, is going to be this research about how we imagine a future that we actually want for ourselves. So it's really about a preferred future, not a possible or likely future, because we often limit ourselves in this way. And Betsy, you're old hat at this, so I think we're gonna have a lot of fun
as we go into
this. But to see your preferred future, we're going to do some time travel today.
Great.
And it's going to be within your current life. No next life opportunities here yet. But we recommend somewhere between 2 and 20 years. So what sounds right for you?
I would say I'm going to go with 3.
3 years. Okay. So we are going to take a couple of deep breaths. You might close your eyes if you want to, and climb into this time machine with me. And we are going to take an adventure to 2027. When we get there, I would like you to observe yourself there So you're split screening your current self, observing your 3-year older self, and then respond to the questions as if you're observing this about your future self. So you got it?
Perfect. I
All
got it.
right. So here we are. We're pulling into the 2027 station. And ding, here we are. We're going to step out of the time capsule. And the first thing that I just want to ask you is like, in 3 years, where are you? And maybe describe your surroundings a little bit.
Well, I know this podcast is about American future, but I will be in France.
Well, I have a secret to tell you. You're not the only person who's planning to leave the country in their future.
Well, I will tell you the caveat. I will not be there 100%. The plan is really to be between there and here in Southern
Okay.
California, and in particular Malibu, because that is still my happy place. So yeah, but for the sake of this question, the doors are open and I am in France.
All right. So which part of France? And like describe your surroundings. Like what do you see?
Yes. South of France. I am today I'm in Saint-Tropez. I'm in the old town.
Okay.
I am walking amongst the small streets and the shops, and I am walking down to the marina.
The marina. You are totally such an ocean person.
I'm such an ocean person. I have to have water, even if I don't need to be in it. I have to have it near me.
It's always nearby for you. Yes. Well, so as you're, walking down these small streets of Saint-Tropez and past the shops and heading for the beach, what will you be most proud of in your 3-year older self?
That I did it, that I followed my dreams, that I said, I can have anything I want. I am proud that I chose a career and realized that I could find a career build a career that is remote and that I can work from anywhere in the world.
You have so much that you've done in your life. And I want to like dig a little deeper in this. What will you be most proud of?
Okay.
Because a lot of it, so you're proud of like living your dreams and moving to Saint-Tropez. Like who's in your life?
You're in my life.
I plan to come on visit. I'm going to visit you there. I promise.
I would say all of my best friends that I travel and do things with are absolutely a part of my life. And when it comes to family, my sisters, does a lot of traveling with me anyway. My parents, not so much, but honestly, it's kind of funny. I mean, France is closer to the East Coast, and that's where all my family is. So maybe I actually see them a little bit more. That would be nice. And I have, and I'm married by then. 3 years.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's talk about what you're proud of with your relationship with a husband.
With a husband. That I took my time in exploring that this was going to be the right relationship for me instead of, and that I did not move too quickly. I do tend to be impulsive at times, and I have gotten better about that the older I've gotten, but I can still be that way. And I think I've learned to just breathe, and be more intentional and also get to know people better. And not necessarily take them for face value. I mean, I think if I think about my previous relationships over the years, it has been that it's easy for someone to talk the talk. It's a way different thing for them to walk the walk. And yeah.
I'm hearing also some wisdom in there that you might be proud of.
Very much so, yes. Yeah, and I'm proud of, I'm driven by freedom on many, many levels of what that can mean. And I am proud that I chose freedom to, to live anywhere in the world that I want to, travel anywhere that I want to. I am absolutely driven by freedom. So I'm very proud of embracing that, because that can be something that's super scary, right? Freedom can also be terrifying.
Responsible freedom is definitely terrifying at times.
Yes. We're still in this post-COVID space, right? And when I think about what drove me through those 4 years, I was still hugely motivated by freedom. And I made a lot of choices based on uh, how much freedom I would be allowed to have if I did XYZ, right? So if I got the vaccine, I was going to be able to leave the country. I was able to go to Turks and Caicos because I had the vaccine. I was able to do whatever I want. Clearly, can you tell that I don't like to be told what to do?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to Saint-Tropez in
Yeah.
2027. Because
Okay.
and thank you for expounding on that, like what you're most proud of, because I could feel there was more there.
Yes. Good. I
And
like how, yeah.
so we're in Saint-Tropez, how do you spend a typical day?
So maybe I might work an hour or two a day, but for the most part, I am enjoying local life. And what I love about the south of France, what I love about Europe just is that it's the freedom of movement. So we don't have to have a car. I might hop a train and I could take it to Switzerland for dinner. Seriously,
Yeah.
And then I could be, back by midnight. That's what I actually love about that area. And I've kind of decided that Nice is really it for me as the hub because
Mm.
there's so many jumping off points. But just really being able to be in so many different countries in such short amount of time. And obviously their train systems are world class, right?
Yeah. Well, they are. And I'm getting a picture of you're actually like centering your life in the French Riviera, but it's for the sake of the adventures you can have from there.
Yes.
And so on any typical day, you're actually going to be having an adventure, doing something.
That I'm not waiting to live my life for weekends. A lot of people it always struck me when someone, or even the phrase, working for the weekend, working towards the weekend. If we are not living our lives every day, like, tomorrow's not guaranteed.
Right?
So I want to live my best life every day to my best ability. And I feel like I can do that really well in Europe. It's pretty awesome in Southern California too. I'm not going to lie. But it's not, I don't know, just to have the different culture and the different, really to be in a completely different place with a different language. I love Germany. I only speak 2 words of German right now. But if I were to all of a sudden just decide I want to go to Berlin, I would say, okay, I'm going to go to Berlin for the weekend, right?
Yep.
Like it's possible.
Oktoberfest.
Yes, right. Munich, where I could just be anywhere and feel so different. And then I'm back in France, or I pop over to Italy, or Austria, Greece. Oh my God, I've been to Greece before, but not like I had on this last trip with the cruise last summer.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to get back. I mean, how many islands are there to explore? You know,
And
I,
and so I want to point out too, like you and I were talking earlier today here in 2024 about the eclipse, and I mentioned that the next full total solar eclipse is going to go through Spain in 2026. So that's going to be like 6 months or 8 months before we're now imagining your 2027 future.
well, and we also said that it was going smack onto Mallorca, which I
Right.
have not been before. I've been to Spain several times, so I think I have to be in Mallorca in 2026.
There's a lot of things that are going to be happening around that time.
That's right.
And we're already kind of getting a sense, I think, in this interview about how do you feel most of the time in your adventurous life in the south of France. But how do you feel most of the time?
I feel very content. I feel very grateful. I feel like excited to see what else I can learn. I feel like it's this motivation that's different because it's this motivation for growth. And then I feel like by experiencing all those different cultures, being concentrated in that area of the world, that, it gives me a contrast. And I think through contrast is also how we have a potential to learn and grow. Because it's very easy to kind of get stuck into our day-to-day lives anywhere for that matter.
Mhm.
But my goal of being there And being, like if I feel that I'm there right now, it's because I know that there's so much exploring that I can do on a daily basis. And I don't have to wait to the weekend, or I don't have to wait until that, once or twice vacation per year. Whatever that is in me has grown exponentially, particularly that feeling in like the last year or two where I'm revving up instead of slowing down. It's like this drive to
Yeah.
explore.
Well, and I think some of us, as we age, we do have more of a drive to explore, and there's other people who have more of a drive to settle, just settle,
Just
like
settle.
yeah, just like
Yeah.
I'm here, and I enjoy and am grateful for what I have, and I hear for you in your preferred future that what excites you, what gets you out of bed every day, is this idea of adventure and exploration, and that is going to
Yes,
take you to places around the world.
absolutely. That's it. 1,000%.
Observing your future self here in Saint-Tropez in 2027, what can you identify as your 3 to 5 priority values or qualities?
I'm going to go with what I would call core values, right?
Okay.
Because as a consultant, I would say I quote preach, asking people to develop their core values of what are you going to live by.
Yep.
Empathy and compassion, definitely two top ones, can be very seen hand in hand. Kindness, like togetherness, a lot of those, just a welcoming feeling of being content and at peace and at home, if you will. So for me also, even when I say at home, as much as I travel, I make every place that I go feel like home. So I kind of tend to like almost nest in a way very quickly. That's the Cancer in me, because I'm certainly not a homebody, but we develop a homey feeling wherever we go. And that's what I feel like I'm very good at. Yeah, that was probably 3 to 5, right?
It is, and the one that you left out that was all over the first question was freedom.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think I almost just inherently was like, oh yeah, that's my number one.
So yeah, so I just want to like put that back
Thank you.
into the
Yes,
top of mind here.
that's definitely number
Yeah, and now we're getting into the home stretch here. We've got just a couple questions left.
one. Okay.
And this next one is to think about the community in which you live in 2027. So for this interview, we've identified Saint-Tropez. What does that community need to include or provide that supports your preferred future?
A safe environment, an inherent like safety. Saint-Tropez is a very safe town. A lot of those towns along the Côte d'Azur are, and it's also smaller. So, the locals that are staying there year round it's a pretty small number compared to the tourists that are coming in the summers. The safety, the ease of movement. I love to walk everywhere. That town is very, very walkable. And when I was there this last time, we parked the car and the car never moved. The French are they they have life figured out, in my opinion. They have a priority to live life every day. Vive la France. It's,
Well, what I'm kind of hearing beyond that is that the French community itself is supportive of your preferred future, of this adventuring
absolutely.
self and ease of movement and having things be in a walkable area. Everything you need is right there, and including that sense of safety.
And I love to cook, so I love to go get the fresh produce and the fresh all of those things. I mean, they go and they still walk and get their bread every morning,
And by the afternoon, it's stale
exactly. Yeah.
because
Right.
there's no preservatives in it.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I just love the freshness of that. And I try to emulate that even just with Trader Joe's here, where I would be at Trader Joe's every 3 days if I didn't have to drive. So I really love that, a little bit of living within your means on a daily basis, or living with just what you really need, and just having it the freshest ingredients and the healthiest ingredients.
I'm just going to say it one more time because I think it's so funny. So in order, what the community needs to include or provide is to continue being French.
Sure. And so does my husband.
Yeah. I was gonna come around and ask, like, what's happened to your husband, by the way? Because you kind of dropped him in the proud thing, and then we dropped him.
No, he cooks for me, or we cook together a lot.
Okay. Yeah, and he wasn't in part of your daily activities either. So I'm assuming, like, do you want to like go back
But
and revise that
he's
answer?
kind of, he does his thing. I mean, I had worked in Italy, for instance, many years ago. And, just their lunches, right, are easily 2 hours. You have a glass of wine with it. It's just very laissez-faire, if you will, kind of, and not, and then they go back but they will work a little longer, and then dinner is longer. And it's just this different lifestyle that it's not the rushing. There's no rushing. It's just very tranquille, as the Italians, so I really subscribe to that. I think that we have all of that very wrong. Anybody who barely has time to run out for a 20-minute lunch, or even that most of our employees are only getting 30 minutes.
Yeah,
You just can't do jack in 30 minutes, right?
it's definitely that rush
The
uh,
rush. Yeah.
is really hard in American culture. I hear
Hmm.
that, and I so we had I'm going to just share a quick story here before we go back to the interview, because uh, I recently went to a Red Lobster, and it was with family, and it was a birthday dinner, and they wanted to go to Red Lobster. So we go to Red Lobster, and it took us an hour to get our drinks. American restaurants, yeah, and especially chain restaurants, they have this thing of like they want you to turn the table in an hour, right? It's not
Yeah.
like a leisurely dinner. And I just remember sitting there quipping to the family gathered around here. It was like we were having a French style birthday dinner. Because in France, it's like that. Like
Yeah.
they come and they get your drink, or you actually get your drink sooner than an hour, but then they wait 20 minutes before they come back and take your order for your hors d'oeuvres. And then they disappear for a while, and then they bring the hors d'oeuvres. And then, 20 minutes later, maybe they'll come and ask for your dinner order. Right. But you're there, they expect you to be at the table in a French restaurant in France for 3 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. I
That's
mean, really,
just the way
actually,
of it.
Mexico City was very similar too. They would
Mhm.
have let us sit there all night, and they're very much the same as, like, you have to ask for your check. They're not automatically bringing it to
Right.
you.
Because they don't want to rush you.
Right. Hmm.
Versus the American system where it's like, you just brought your dinner, here's your check.
Right. Yeah.
you know.
Yes, exactly.
So anyway, so back to the interview now, and your very French culture with a husband who cooks with you but does his own
Yes.
thing.
Right.
Um, what are you doing today, or could you do in the near future, to influence or co-create that community? Like you're talking about dropping into a French community
Yes, that's already established.
that's
Yeah.
already established, but I want to know, like, you've also mentioned being dual located in Malibu.
Mhm.
What could you do to influence or co-create maybe more French influence into the community that's going to support your future?
Here or there?
Either way. I'm because it's
Yeah.
already existing in Saint Tropez. I'm suggesting that what would you do to co-create that here?
So that has been an interesting, probably, question that I've posed myself. It's hard to believe I've been in Malibu already for 7 years.
Hmm.
And if anybody knows Malibu, we're really spread out, and it's 21 miles long, and the coastline is 21 miles long, not to mention all of the canyon area. So
Right.
it is a pretty large chunk of land. And the problem is actually is the community. Malibu is, I have many times thought about getting involved in city politics, going to city council meetings and so forth. And in 7 years, I haven't. And it does struggle with its sense of community. There's a lot of people who've lived here a really, really long time, and they tend to know each other. I have another friend who's just said it's been really hard for her to, quote, break into
Hmm.
Malibu and its community. So what I would say is that I actually, in my building, we have our own little community here. when you were saying, oh, how's your one neighbor? And do you still see her? Yeah, that's Sophie. But what's really cool about where I am right now is these two buildings, a lot of them do tend to feel very family-like. You asked me about my neighbor whose door was open. He's lived here for 20 some years. He's in his late 80s. He's lovely. And, I know I can count on him. I know where to find him. Technically, I live right next to the owner's daughter. She's fabulous. Love this woman. In fact, I probably don't see her enough because she's so cool. I would like to see her more. But we tend to be very family oriented, at least and have our own little community just in our two buildings. And I think that right now is about the best I can do because I have thought about getting involved, but I still haven't. And I think that honestly, what I'm doing is I'm just enjoying my little Malibu bubble right now. And I'm enjoying the fact that I can come in. It's solitude, right? Like I come in and I just go, like it's just a safe space and it's my little bubble. But it sucks for community. And you know what it is? It's about getting involved. I mean, I met you because we were both had political aspirations and did a lot of great work and volunteering and all of those things. But you have to get involved. And I have purposely decided clearly not to get involved in Malibu. And you know what? I don't regret that. I still think it's still a great town. It's still a great place to live. And frankly, I don't feel like I'm missing anything by not getting involved.
I'm also hearing, knowing that you have a very busy life and a busy travel schedule too, I'm also hearing you don't have time to get involved, and that if this is your retreat area, you don't want to mess that up.
Right. In any of these communities, like we have to get involved, because it's somewhere along the line somebody did, or we wouldn't have even the services that we have.
So, any last thoughts here before I end our interview with an invitation?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you. This has been fun.
It has been, and we've wandered from the standard interview questions, which I love.
Yes.
So here's the invitation, though. It's to spend 5 minutes every day thinking about your future self and feeling those feelings, and add in or drop in a sense of awe and wonder. And I think you already have a lot of this, but for our listeners out there in the podcast, this is essential. Having awe and wonder about a future you prefer will kick into your life something that neuroscience is actually proving right now. And that is that we will subconsciously create that which we focus on. And so use neuroscience to make a life you prefer instead of accepting a dystopian or unpleasant future from the options that are presented to us in media and entertainment. And if you would like to participate, to do your own interview, just like Betsy did with me here, there's a self-interview online at americanfuture.us, and it's the left-hand button on the homepage. So Betsy, thank you so much for being my friend, first of all, and secondly, for playing with me and having fun with the Terrified Nation podcast.
Yeah, it's really hard for me to think about being terrified when we're having this conversation because it's just so much fun.
Well, and that's right. And this is part of what we're trying to reach people who might be scared right now or angry or hopeless, and giving them some inspiration or some things to think about so that they can not be afraid either.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you for having this podcast and for having this dialogue because it's so needed. And I can't wait to start doing my 5 minutes because I was supposed to be doing that anyway, and I'm falling off the wagon. So thank you for that reminder.
You're so welcome. And in closing today's show, I want to also thank you, the listeners of the Terrified Nation podcast, for really giving a damn about our nation. We may be a terrified nation today, but we can do better. We can save the USA. Join me next time.
So that's it for today's episode of Terrified Nation. Head on over to iTunes or wherever you listen to subscribe to the show. You can get advance notice on new episodes and bonus content by signing up. Head over to terrifiednation.com and join us on the next episode.